Hi, I'm Gil Hans, president of Hans Golf Course Design. I remember when we first got the phone call from Neil Lockie, and he had mentioned the possibility of doing something out on Old Trail. Something maybe a little bit different, a little bit out of the box, focused on fun, excitement, not necessarily needing to be championship length. And whenever anybody talks about fun and interest, that just catches my ear, certainly that of Jim Wagner, my partner, and Brad Faxon, who we've worked with before on projects. So we're excited to be involved in that type of project. But the other good thing about it is it's a sandy site. As a golf course architect, whenever you can have sand be part of what you're building and part of what you're working on, that can necessarily lead itself into all kinds of great opportunities from an aesthetic standpoint and how we're going to present the golf course. But it also does one of the key things that's really important underlying on any course is drainage. It really takes care of making sure that we can drain the golf course properly. We can get firm and fast conditions, and firm and fast equals fun. So when you've got all of those things working in your corner, then I think you've got the potential for an amazing project. So we're very excited to be involved. I think that we're going to be able to put on our very creative hats as it relates to the golf course. Hopefully create golf holes that'll be challenging for really good players, but principally golf course that'll be a lot of fun. One where Jim and Brad and I know are very hopeful that sometimes we'll run into members and they'll say, hey, I shot my best round ever out on your golf course at Jonathan's Landing. And that we won't look at that as being a weakness in any way, shape, or form. Actually, that's what we're hoping to accomplish out there. So it's a great opportunity for us. It's a great canvas for us to work on. And it gives us all the things that we're looking for: fun, firm, fast, interesting golf design. And I think a little bit of creativity as it relates to the fact that the golf course is going to play maybe a little bit shorter on the scorecard than people might be used to. But I think the reality of it is that when you actually get out there and play it, it's going to give you all you want when you play from the proper tees. Hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the video. I've got some really talented guys that we're working with on this. Jim Wagner, my partner, and Brad Faxon. Obviously you all know him. We collaborated once before on a big project at TPC Boston, and I think the results speak for themselves. So we're excited to be back together as a team. And over to you, Paul Stockall.
Good day. My name is Paul Stockall, and I'm a member here at Jonathan's Landing. I'm also involved in the Hans project as a committee member. Today we are going to do a video to update the membership on the new project at Old Trail. We would have preferred to have all the members in the ballroom in person to enjoy this informative presentation. Unfortunately, with the current situation, we are not able to get together as a group at this time. The good news is Hans Design Group has agreed to help us with a video presentation. Jim Wagner, Gil's partner of Hans Golf Design, and Brad Faxon of the PGA Tour will lead us through the presentation today. Jim?
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
I think probably the best way to start is just give everybody a brief background and description of what drew us to the property and the project. On my first visit out to the golf course, I mean, the thing that really struck me the most, and Brad can jump in at whatever point, is just how the property is not your typical Florida golf course, in the sense that there's really no homes on the golf course. I think there's 4 total that you can see, and that was one of the interesting things that first struck me when we got to the property, along with the beauty. And I think everybody here that is a member at Jonathan's Landing and has been out to Old Trails really understands that, and I'm sure that's a lot of the beauty for the membership standpoint of going out to Old Trails. Just getting away from kind of the hecticness, we'll call it, of Jupiter, which is hard to believe.
Well, I think there's such a uniqueness to Jonathan's Landing, having 54 holes, the in-town course where everybody lives, and then the 2 courses at Old Trail. And the Hills course has always been a fun and different course, and maybe one of the most enjoyable. And I think that's one of the things we want to make sure we keep too, is, hey, this is going to be a course with a lot of different options to play. It's going to be different looking with some long views, like you said, Jim, where there's no homes around here. It's not going to be like anything you've seen here in Florida, and it's going to have an old feel and old style. And I know we referenced this early on to some of the courses back up in the Northeast, like maybe Garden City, Catanset. We're going to have some water still out there, so there's going to be a lot of challenge. But I think the way the course is going to be with basically one height of cut everywhere. There's going to be options on a lot of places where to put tees. You can play the course at a lot of different yardages and even at different pars.
Yep. I think Brad, hit on it, 3 points that you just made there. Fun, different, and old style, right? And they're the three things that, all of our design work is done that way, right? That's what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we strive for fun. Everything we do about golf, whether it's golf course architecture, when we work in the field, how we work is about having fun, right? We feel if we're going to have fun building the golf course, everybody's going to work harder. It's going to be more interesting. And then that feeling, that fun aspect is going to come out in the final product, and the members are going to feel it. It's a wide open, fun golf experience. And Brad mentioned a couple golf courses just a couple minutes ago. Garden City, Catanset, golf clubs like that, the old classic
Marion,
New England, Marion, locally Seminole. Golf courses where it's really strictly all about golf.
And I think what you're saying really is long views. Where when you step onto the first tee or you're on the 18th green, you can turn around and you're going to see literally miles of golf. And we're going to enhance and beautify the property. It's going to be very different than what you've seen. And I think when we went out with the committee a few weeks ago and walked some of the property where number 1, number 2, number 18 are, and we've got the holes here. Everybody's like, you could feel the excitement of everybody growing when you could actually get out there and kind of touch what you see on 2D on the paper.
Yeah.
Have you been involved in any other projects or designed any golf courses in the area?
This is our first project in Palm Beach County. I mean, we've been fortunate because we've been able to work from Dubai to Tokyo and Rio for the 2016 Olympics. So we've been very, very fortunate in the places that we've worked. Around the country and around the world.
And the two closest courses that you've done to here in Palm Beach County are the third course, the Black Course at Stream Song, and then the renovation of the Doral Blue Monster.
Yep.
As you know, Jim, one of our objectives is being conscious of our budget. Can you make some comments on that, please?
Sure, Paul. Yeah, that's a good question because there's a lot of different ways to practice architecture. I mean, a lot of people feel that architecture is similar to, like, say, designing a house where you do a full set of plans, right? And in those plans, a contractor comes in and just basically builds everything according to the plans. That is definitely a way that golf course architecture is practiced today. We don't really practice it that way. I mean, we go back to the original and the traditional style of the classic architecture where guys spend a lot of time on site. You look at all the great golf courses and you take Pine Valley, like Crump was there every single day. You can take Pine Tree here in Florida where, Dick Wilson, lived on the property. And he went ahead and, made all the changes on a daily basis.
Donald Ross at Pinehurst.
Donald Ross at Pinehurst. A lot of the great old architects, spend a lot of time handcrafting things, and that's what really we employ as our, basically, architecture philosophy. So what we mean by that is, obviously we do plans, right? You'll see the plans. We do plans from a conceptual standpoint. We do plans for membership approval. We do plans for permitting approval, right? But really everything is done in the field. Gil and myself, Kevin and Ben, who work with us at Hans Golf Design, they hop on equipment. I mean, we're all very, equipment, dozer, excavator centric. We have a separate, group of shapers that works for our company, the company called Caveman Construction, which is a group of talented guys that we've come across along the way, who understand our design and architectural principle that help us basically handcraft the golf courses. They'll make all the massive rough edits, move all the dirt, and kind of rough shape the property. Then Gil and myself and some of the guys on the Caveman group will come in and we'll start refining.
And I've seen it firsthand. You have 18 templates really that you bring out to the course that you've seen on paper, and I think the strength of Jim and Gil is their ability. This is art, really. This is art with a bulldozer, and shaping earth. It takes a form, and when you're applying golf to these landscapes, it really can make a difference when you're out there and you say, oh, no, this would look better than it did on paper. I can change that and improve it, whether it's elevation, scale, and these guys have as much experience as anybody in the world, really. And you can't find that when you're sourcing landscapers or shapers that have never worked with you before to be able to do what they do and have them in the field.
One of the other reasons why we do it is it allows us to control the project. We want to control it architecturally, we want to control it construction-wise, and it helps us control the finances and the budget of the project. The committee and the membership is putting in our hands the ability to create something great, but also manage a budget along the way, and that's kind of part of the process.
The roading of the golf course seems to give great flexibility when it comes to play.
That was really one of the things that also drove us to the project, is because the talk and discussion was not only is it to be an 18-hole golf course, but to have multiple different options within the golf course itself.
And don't you find that with the options here on the routing, you can play shorter hole? You could play a 6-hole routing, a 9-hole routing, a 12-hole routing, a 7-hole routing. We don't even know what people will end up doing here, and I think we're going to invent some games as we're making it up on what we can do.
During our committee meetings, you had mentioned you felt the short game area would be world-class.
We're breaking down practice into a couple different areas, right? Is that we're taking it and we're creating a practice fields, which is basically an area that's going to have 3, 4, maybe 5 greens. We really don't know what that number is right now. That you can go out there and you can practice a multitude of shots. You can go from just chips around the edge of the green to maybe, I think it's 110, 120 yard shots, to all different sorts of greens, all different sorts of angles. So whatever anybody wants to practice and go out there and practice, they'll have the ability to be able to do that. I think we're close to 3 acres. It's basically the existing driving range. So if people know the golf course right now, the existing driving range and everything to the left of the existing driving range over to the natural preserve and the parking lot is mainly going to be all practice. So it's a huge practice facility, okay? And then what we did as part of the practice facility is, so 2 of the greens on the practice facility also can be played as cut-through holes for a 7-hole loop or a 12-hole loop. But more importantly, one of the cool parts about this is we've kind of created this gallery area through mounding to help shield the parking lot, okay? And then part of that is going to become for shootouts and things like that at tournaments. So if you have your member or other tournaments, and there's a shootout aspect to it that all the participants can come and gather around the backside of these greens that we're going to build, right? And stand there and watch, and then you have the option of playing those holes from 50 to 150 yards into the green. So there's, again, it's flexibility. I mean, everything we're talking about doing in the whole design and everything out there is just flexibility, right? It's flexibility within the 18 holes of golf. Because like Brad said earlier, is that there's going to be a lot of different golf out there.
Right.
I mean, our objective is on this golf course, all of our designs, we don't want anybody to be able to figure this golf course out playing it once or twice,
No.
right? It has to be a lifetime of playing golf in order to figure out all the nuances of the golf course, the strategy behind the golf course, different yardages, how the wind reacts, how everything comes together. So there's flexibility in the design itself, right? There's flexibility in the practice facility, right? You have a big practice facility, you have shootout holes,
Right.
you have cut-through holes. It's just a multitude of things that can happen.
You know what I'm excited about, Paul? Let me just add on real quickly to what Jim said. As a player now, I'm doing some instruction with some top-level players. A lot of the courses that we see, whether we're playing PGA Tour events or some of the older courses that didn't think about practice, I mean, these practice fields will simulate what you're going to see on the golf course. So when you go out to practice on the holes, you're going to be able to practice shots that you're going to have on the course. And we all know that we're trying to be better at this game, whether we're 100 shooters or 70 shooters, that half those shots that you play in around the golf are within 100 yards. And nobody really practices. A lot of the practice areas that we see, it's kind of you have a practice putting green and maybe a hazard sort of chipping area where there's nothing like what you see on the golf course. And I think this is going to make what we're doing really separate itself, where you can go out and say, hey, I remember this chip shot I had on number 4. Now I can go practice it because it's a little different, whether it's a bump and run through the tightly mown or a high shot over a bunker where you're going to try and stop it. I think it's going to lead a lot of the members here to be able to go out and get lessons and say, this is the options you have. And that's what you're creating in all the courses I've seen. Ahupee, the course in Georgia where you built, the practice facility there looks just like the golf course, and we don't see that very often anymore in modern golf.
So I think when the member shows up to Old Trails, what they're going to see is these changes. that the golf course is totally different than what it currently is. Brad and I came out and we wandered the property, and we had several different options that we presented the committee with. You know, this isn't the only option that was presented. We gave 4 options of different routing ideas and different plans within the concept. But one of the things that really drove us to this routing is the current 18th hole. Okay, the current 18th hole sits on your first hole, but is played backwards. It's played back up into the clubhouse as opposed to away from the clubhouse. And we felt that was one of the most beautiful spots on the property, you know, to get you back into the club. Right. You know, because you're just standing there and you're looking up and it's just nothing but golf. You're away from the cart barn, you're away from everything, and it allows us to capture the feel and the essence of what we're after, which is just, it's all about golf. Everything is golf related. So that's one of the first things you'll notice. The second thing you'll notice is that the driving range is no longer in its current location. Okay, the driving range has been moved over to your current 16th hole. Okay,
Out east.
out east. Yep. So it'll be the far eastern end of the property. With it'll be adjacent to the first hole in the Fazio golf course.
Yeah, right behind.
Right behind it. Yep.
So I like for golfing, you know, to come out, hit balls, hit some putts, you're on the first tee. It'll make the experience enjoyable. You're not disjointed running around. You'll see other golfers going to play the Fazio course. You're teeing off. You'll be able to see your friends finishing on 18 if you're playing in the afternoon. And this long view where you'll be able to see an expansive view of all the holes, which is something that rarely do you see in Florida.
Yeah. And one of the things that is kind of interesting is the first hole of our golf course backs up right to the first hole of the Fazio golf course. So we even like the ability to go ahead and allow, you know, our golf course to utilize the first tee on the Fazio golf course as well. So from a back tee standpoint, you know, our tee could go all the way back to the back part of the Fazio tee on the other side of the path, and that would be a good starting point, you know, for bigger events and things of that nature. So it just allows some more flexibility in the design. As far as the practice facility, it's going to be roughly twice the size, if not a little bit larger than the current practice facility. I think the width of your current tee is only about 150 feet, and I think our tee width is going to be about 300 feet wide. So twice as wide, probably 1.5 to almost 2 times as deep. So that gives much more flexibility in moving the range, you know, the stations every single day.
You know what I love too is prevailing wind is right to left. I think every golfer likes to hit draws, you know, the ability to shape some shots there. I mean, it's not going to be that way every day, but I was partial when I was playing the PGA Tour. I loved a practice range that was in the same direction as my first tee shot. If you were practicing, getting ready to start, you know, whatever shot you like to hit or can only hit, you know on the range you're going to have a similar shot on the first tee. And the proximity to having both there and on the same direction is, I think it's a lovely way to start.
Yeah.
How will the women find this golf course to play?
One of the really, you know, interesting parts about working with the committee on this project is that there was a huge emphasis on the women players in the club, and Allison was part of the committee, and she was great. You know, working with her really, you know, brought a lot of the issues at a lot of golf courses here in Florida and probably everywhere that the women face, right? So we took that into account in laying out and designing the golf course. You know, length of the golf course. You know, it can expand from almost zero, basically.
Right. And you look at the options you
you
have for the tees. You could almost put them anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want. Yep. So the flexibility in the golf course for the women golfer is huge. The fact that there are no forced carries.
And not just on the first hole, throughout the entire course.
It's everywhere. And they can play their way around the entire golf course without having to worry about carrying anything. Or if they want to be challenged, the challenge is still there for them.
What should members expect in regards to timing of construction?
Our dedication when we come to the job is solely the job that we're working on. And that's what will happen here. So if the goal is to start construction, say, you know, middle to the end of February, the way we work, since we control the process and handle all the shaping ourselves, we'll start grassing as soon as we can, you know, right through the summer. So by the time we get into October, end of October, 1st of November, when the season begins here, the golf course will be, you know, playable at that point in time.
What I love too, Jim, is we live 10 minutes from here. and the extra time that we're going to get to spend. I think there's going to be a lot of personal pride at having this project so close to us where we can be really firsthand every minute of the way.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, 10 minutes away and being able to have all the friends that we have in this area come play, I mean, that's, you know, an extra incentive for us to come out here and do something very special.
I hope you enjoyed the presentation today. Enjoy the rest of your summer, stay safe, and we will do another update in the fall.